Hello, in this video I'm going to show you a game in my Kamikaze, Japanese Tier 5 premium gift ship, and I'm also going to talk about Project R, which is just started on the North American and European servers today, and it's basically how you can get your hands on one of these ships. I figured since I've already been through Project R once before to get my Kamikaze, whereas I imagine it's new for most of my viewers, I thought I'd just share a bit of information about it. So the way it works is that you're given a bunch of missions which you can all go and look at on the World of Warships website, and it also tracks your own progress there as well. These missions are, earn so many experience overall, earn so much experience in a battle, sink so many enemy ships, win so many battles, even participate in so many battles. Most of them are quite easy, and for every one you complete you gain a certain number of pearls. And when you get 150 pearls, you go in the draw to win one of 1,000 of these Kamikaze destroyers. Which is slightly different from on the Asian server, because when we did Project R over there, it was just you earned 145 pearls, and when you did, you got a destroyer, well, once the competition ended, but everyone who got that many pearls got the destroyer. The thing is, why would you want the Kamikaze? This is basically probably at least the only way you'll get the Kamikaze R version. They'll probably release the Kamikaze properly at some point. But why would you want it? Well, it's a tier 5 destroyer at the same tier as the Kamikaze, and it's actually a very similar ship. And most importantly, it's got the exact same torpedo armament as the Kamikaze, so in terms of its main armament, it's right there. It's actually got a few differences. First thing I noticed was that speed, it's a little bit slower than the Kamikaze. 37 knots is its top speed instead of 39.5. But it's actually kind of a mixed blessing, because it means that I botch my stealth torpedo attacks less often in the Kamikaze than I do in the Kamikaze, just because there's a bit more of a margin of error there. The other big difference between this and the Kamikaze is that the Kamikaze gets better guns. Well, actually it gets the exact same guns, but they have better traverse time. It kind of gets the same traverse time as on the Hatsuharu and the other high tier Japanese destroyers, which makes a little bit of a difference when it comes to those close range fights, and I do tend to actually use my guns a fair bit on the Kamikaze and the Kamikaze. Basically, just to explain it, if you keep your rudder at half full, your guns can actually keep up with your turn most of the time, whereas that's not the case on the Kamikaze. In the Kamikaze you basically have to go on a straight line, whereas the Kamikaze can turn slowly and still continue to fire at the enemy. But Project R, it's not worth doing just for the Kamikaze, and as I said, you aren't guaranteed to get a Kamikaze. You'll go in the draw to win one of 1,000 of them. That's on the North American server. I believe it's 3,000 on the European server. But other than that, there are a whole bunch of prizes you could win just for completing certain milestones. You get one for your first pearl, one for 3 pearls, one for 5, one for 10. There's one in there for like 150 and all that. And basically I've added up everything you could, or everything you would get if you've completed all of the milestones. And I'm just going to read them out to you. Well, I'll read most of them out to you. I'll put a few of them just up on the screen because I can't be bothered going through the full list. First off, 6,550,000 credits, which would be very useful. 1 day of premium. 25 Type 3 camouflages. Those are the ones that you got for New Year's and Halloween that give you a bonus to experience as well as to dispersion of shells landing around your ship. You also get 25 Type 1 and 25 Type 2 camouflages, which are the 2 non-premium ones. And you get a lot of flags. Actually, I'm not going to bother reading any of these out, I'll just have them scrolling through on the screen. You get at least 26 of every flag in the game, and probably most importantly for me, you get 32 of the Equal Speed Charlie London, which gives you 50% bonus to experience, which I use for grinding up my ships. And, on top of all of that, there are a number of treasure chests that you can unlock by getting 20 pearls. And every time you open a treasure chest, there's a chance of winning prizes. So today I opened up my weekly flag treasure chest. The results are all random, and I managed to get a small flag pack, which gave me 9 flags. On top of, well, those 9 flags will be on top of all those ones I've earned. And yes, I did just manage to blow up the magazine of a cruiser, and that torpedo did also get dropped too close to me, so it detonated with, well, hit me without arming. So that was just a very lucky moment for me in this game. One-shotting a tier 3 cruiser and surviving a direct hit from a torpedo. But, well, we can't all be that lucky all the time. So I was saying, oh yes, treasure chest. So I got a small flag pack, which I'm assuming is probably the least good one I can get, and that got me 9 flags. And you get to open up one of those every week, as well as one camouflage box and one consumables box, which gets you premium smoke screens and premium speed boosts and the like. Well, also things that are useful for battleships and ships other than destroyers, but you know what I mean. There are also later on, I think it's a razored treasure chest, which you probably won't actually get anything from. Anything, Agent Server is anything to go by. Basically, every time you click on it, you go in the draw to win one of 8 of something cool, like an actual object, not something in-game that they'll have to send to you. So, yeah, Project R, it's well worth doing. I mean, even for the 6.5 million credits, for most people, that's, what's a tier 6 or 7 ship? Pretty good to have. Oh, plus there's a few other things, like if you get to a certain milestone, we get a 3 times experience weekend, and there's also going to be a 3 times captain experience event before then at some point. All of which sounds very good. Just the only thing is, we've all got to go out there and join Project R and start completing these missions to earn our pearls. And then 1,000 people get the Kamikaze R, which is a very good ship, and I definitely do recommend getting if you can, or at least doing what you can. So I've actually finally managed to get into a position to launch a decent attack on an enemy battleship, which is the main thing I'm trying to be doing this whole game in the Kamikaze, but keep getting spotted by, well, destroyers and cruisers and aircraft, and I've lost almost all my hit points, but finally I'm in a position where I can do it. And I actually managed to just, well, I did run aground, but not seriously, and my torpedoes are looking good. And there we go. Sunk a battleship. So as I said, it's got the same torpedoes as a Kamikaze, so it is just as powerful. The only real disadvantage is that it's slightly slower. And we can live with that, because 37 knots is still actually incredibly fast, even for a destroyer at tier 5. But this looks like it's basically over. It's just a case of, well, 5 enemy ships left, and they're just all on the other side of the map. Actually, they all look like they're basically fighting behind the enemy cap circle. So unfortunately we're just going to have to spend a bit of time getting over there. So now's the moment where I'd actually appreciate having an extra 2.5 knots of speed. So yeah, the Kamikaze, I really do enjoy the ship. I haven't had a bad game in it. It's just a case of it's still got the awesome torpedo firepower of the Kamikaze, as I've said repeatedly now, but the fact that it's got the better gun reverse actually just makes it a more balanced ship. You can go into short-range encounters with enemy destroyers more effectively, and you can do damage more effectively with enemy cruisers and battleships and the like, just because you can get your guns on target earlier. The guns also have different layout to on the Kamikaze. I'm not actually sure whether it's better or worse than the Kamikaze. Based on the Kamikaze, you've got 2 guns facing forwards, 2 guns facing back, so regardless of whether you turn towards or away from your enemy, it's always going to help out 2 of your guns and really hurt the other 2. On the Kamikaze, you've got 3 facing forwards. On the Kamikaze, I should say, you've got 3 facing forwards, 1 facing back, which means that in situations like you see me doing here, where I'm trying to figure out which approach to take to these enemy ships, and I keep switching back from, you know, my port broadside or my starboard port side, being indecisive in this situation doesn't actually hurt me, because my guns are always going to be, well, I'm always going to have 3 of my guns making a pretty short turn to get onto my new tack. It's just my rearmost gun that's going to have to swing the whole way around. The disadvantage of this gun setup is that when I'm trying to retreat away from the enemy instead of advancing towards them and using my guns, In that case, swinging broadsides while retreating, I'm going to have to swing 3 of my guns the long way around, and only my rearmost gun will continue facing towards the enemy. So, I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing. When I first got this ship, I thought it was bad because I thought I'm only ever going to use my guns when I'm trying to disengage from enemies, and it's worse in that situation, although having the better turret traverse actually cancels it out to a huge extent. But now I'm actually not so sure. I've actually, well, over the last few months playing the Kamikaze and the Kamikaze, I've actually started to use my guns much more aggressively, and they're a much bigger part of the damage I do. I generally get about, let's probably say around in the 20s hits per game with my guns, which doesn't do a lot of damage usually, but it's a pretty significant portion when you think about it. I mean, the 120mm guns on the Kamikaze and the Kamikaze, and well, lots of the other low-tier Japanese destroyers are actually very powerful. They generally do pretty close to 1,000 damage a hit if they hit, say, an enemy destroyer, a lot less than that on other enemy warships. But it's only really taking about 10 shots from these guns, or 10 hits from these guns, to actually sink an enemy destroyer, which isn't actually that bad, especially since they're also pretty accurate. I managed to get a torpedo on the enemy aircraft carrier there, and I'm engaging a Nicholas, which I didn't think would go well for me, but it didn't fire at me for a long time, so I got a few broadsides in, and then it missed one, takes out my rudder, and my allies kill it, and I've got a tiny bit of hit points left. And I was thinking of finishing off the aircraft carrier there, but my team also killed that just before I could. So it looks like I'm going to get 2 kills unless I can catch up to this enemy Congo, which is running away, while basically my entire team is in its cap circle, so not really going to help you win the game there, Congo, especially since it's shooting at me while my team have almost won on cap points, which again should be trying to decap the base to keep it in the game a bit longer, so it could do a bit more damage and a bit more experience. But yeah, it's not going to be. So that was a pretty okay game. And the thing is, if that had been my first game under Project R, I mean, you get 1 for winning a game, you get a couple for, I think you have to sink 5 ships, so I'm halfway to that one. Participate in 3 games, I'm a third of the way to that. And, you know, I've got a decent number of pearls here. And actually, with that experience I earned there, that is another mission I've completed. So that's how easy they are. 1 game and I've got a few, probably 10 pearls by this point. But look there also, just talking about the usefulness of the guns, did about 20,000 damage with my guns in that game. So as I said, that extra turret reverse makes them a lot more useful, and you can actually do decent damage with the guns on the Kamikaze and the Kamikaze. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you are going to give a go in Project R, and I wish you luck for that. And I'll see you all next time.